What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a really long time since I made an actual YouTube video, and I wish I was making this for better reason, but I'm not. 2021 is just not our year. I thought 2020 was bad, and then 2021 rolls around and it's just like, whew. I guess in this video I'm gonna do a little bit of a story time of just how horrible this year has been, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And also do a little bit of a channel update and talk about, you know, content and stuff. Okay, so let's start this off back in January, which feels like an eternity ago. I can't remember the exact date, but early January, we were having a fire, and it was a really cold night. And it was raining off and on all that day, and we still wanted to have a fire. So we made a dumb decision that a lot of people unfortunately make. We decided we were going to use gasoline to start the fire. So my brother poured the gasoline on it. Keep in mind, this is actually the first time he's ever done that. This is not like something he does all the time. This was the first time he's ever done it, and I hope to God the last. Anyways, we did that and we got the fire going. We were burning a mattress that we had. Anyways, the first gas can ran out of gas. We didn't really need to pour anymore because the fire was burning, but he went and grabbed another gas can. It was a, you know, one of those big gas cans. He never poured it on the fire. He sat it down close to the fire, which was not a good idea. And this sucks that it happened this way, but he just did notice. He saw that the gas can was too close to the fire. So naturally, if you notice that, you're gonna want to move it. So he picks it up and moves it. Well, the fumes from the gasoline and it exploded.
Stars in your eyes, so let's paint the sky.
So he ended up being airlifted to Gainesville, where I spent many months of my life, and obviously he spent months there too, fighting for his life at some points. And thankfully now he's normal as he can be. He just had his last skin graft 2 weeks ago. So this is still, you know, this is still a thing we're dealing with.
And we're gonna let it burn, 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 burn. We're gonna let it burn, 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 burn.
But yeah, 2021 started off that way. And things were going good for a few months. And then June rolls around.
I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue.
My grandpa was not in the best health. I mean, he had a category 4 stroke back in 2013. They only gave him 10 years to live anyway, so we knew, you know, his time was coming. But June rolls around and he gets really sick out of nowhere. My granny described that he was rattling in his chest, which I've actually never heard anyone say that, but once I met it, when I saw it in person, I understood what was happening. Anyways, they rush him to the emergency room, where he almost dies. His oxygen dropped so low that he almost died. And my granny told me this, and you know, I believe her, don't get me wrong, but it is a completely different thing to hear it and then to see it for yourself. So we get to the hospital and they originally thought he was going into heart failure, that he was about to die. So everybody was rushing up there to see him. I went in there to see him and he seemed fine. Like he was happy, he was high, but he seemed happy. I mean, he was in great mood. I'm like, you're fine. This does not look like somebody who's dying to me. And
I will stay with you. We'll make it to the other side, like lovers do. I'll reach my hands out in the dark and
they moved him to a different room in an emergency department before getting an actual room. When he was in that emergency room department room, his oxygen dropped and he almost died, like right in front of me. Like, he started gasping for air and you could see the fear in his eyes. And they start running in. In my opinion, these nurses sucked. I mean, I'm sorry, but they didn't seem to care at all. I mean, they were walking around as slow as they possibly could. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Anyways, he almost died, but they put the oxygen mask on him and started squeezing it. Thankfully, he did not die then. After that, they decided to move him to the step-down unit.
I'll wait for you.
What they told us was he had pneumonia, and they were going to be treating him for pneumonia. And at that time, it was looking pretty good, or as we thought. So they were treating him for pneumonia. We thought he was getting better. He didn't seem happy. Like, he seemed like he was kind of depressed, I won't lie to you. But he seemed okay, and we thought he was getting better. Well, one day, we were in the step-down unit, me and my granny, and he almost died again. He was going to sleep. And they start running in there. Keep in mind, we're just sitting there, we're on our phones thinking, oh, he's fine, he's just sleeping. They start running in there. They're like, Mr. Fletcher, wake up, don't go to sleep. Mr. Fletcher, don't. What would have happened is his oxygen dropped so low, if he would have went to sleep then, he would have never woke up again.
I will hold on to you. No matter what this world will throw, it won't shake me loose.
So obviously that scared us, and they finally got him awake, and you know, his oxygen started to go back up. While that was happening, they ended up calling somebody in the ICU, I guess a lung specialist or whatever, and he told us straight up that it wasn't looking good. They got to move him to the ICU, and at that time they were putting him on a CPAP machine. And he said, we're gonna try and avoid it, but if we have to put him on a ventilator, he's not. We have to put him on a ventilator, more than likely it's gonna do more harm than it will good. So we were hopeful that it wouldn't come to that point.
Out in the dark and wait for yours to enter like I wait for you.
So they get him on the CPAP machine, and he seemed to be doing okay. In fact, as the days progressed, they started to lower the oxygen intake because they thought he was doing better. The only problem was, as he would sleep, his oxygen would drop.
I'll wait for you.
So they would have to turn it back up at night, and they actually ended up taking the CPAP machine off and putting a regular oxygen in during the daytime, because he was fine, unless he went to sleep. Well, a day rolls around, and we find out it's not looking good, and they're gonna have to put him on the ventilator.
Even when they say there's nothing left, so don't give up.
So what they ended up doing was they gave him a shot to paralyze him, and they gave him a shot to put him in a coma, because obviously you don't want to be awake when you have a ventilator on you. And what they were going to do was they were going to leave him on his stomach for 16 hours at a time and suck that fluid out of his lungs. And then they would turn him over on his back, and he would sit there for a little bit.
Not me, even when nobody else believes. I'm not going down that easily.
long story short, that wasn't working. And then they told us we had to make a decision. He could either have a surgery to put a hole in his throat to, put a trach in. And he couldn't talk. He already couldn't talk because of the stroke, but we learned to understand him, you know. But he wouldn't be able to do that. He wouldn't be able to get out of his chair. He would have to be sent home with oxygen. He already didn't have a life. And then you talk about taking away what little life the man had. So, I mean, it was a difficult decision, but ultimately we just decided to take him off the ventilator. So that day rolled around, and he fought for his life for an entire hour. In ways, it was the most horrible thing I've saw in my life, but also the most amazing thing, just watching how he fought. He waited until every single family member was in that room, and as soon as the last family member was in there, is when he passed.
I will fight for you.
So anyways, that was June. And, you know, things, you know, started to get a little bit better. We were dealing with that. And then August rolls around. Last week of July. My dad was exposed from corona from these two dudes at work who knew they had it. That makes it even worse. But they knew they had it. And so he needed to get tested to make sure he didn't have it. So he ended up getting tested. It came back negative. So we were like, okay, we're good. A week later, he was having horrible body aches. Like to the point where he can't even sit down because he's in so much pain. His back was killing him. His legs was killing him. Like it was horrible. So my mom ended up buying him an at-home COVID test. Well, he took that test and it came back positive. So the very next day he went to Quick Care, and he did in fact have corona. They didn't test him again, but you know, they knew that he had corona. So they gave him some medicine and he started to feel better. Well, then I get sick. And I seem to be having worse symptoms than he had. My whole chest, if I touch it, it hurts. And the symptoms would just grow worse and worse, and it would hit me out of nowhere. Like one day I was sitting on the couch, and I just got so hot all of a sudden. Then I started coughing. And then the next day after that, I was eating, and I literally had to stop eating because I had to catch my breath. And then I noticed that day also my chest was like sensitive to the touch. So anyways, I took an at-home COVID test. I forgot to mention this. I took one the same day he did, and it came back negative. But I ended up taking another one yesterday, and it came back negative. But come to find out, my mom didn't do the test right. So that's probably why. But unfortunately, it wasn't only me showing symptoms. My mom, she actually took an at-home test this morning, came back positive. My sister's sick, I'm sick. So what we did is we ended up going to Quick Care today, telling our symptoms. We had a great doctor, honestly. He was funny. I kept telling him, you know, my chest hurts when I touch it, and I was giving him a little bit of demonstration. He's like, well, stop touching your chest. And I'm like, well, you know, good idea. Anyways, so we did that, and we got some medicine. Some pretty strong medicine from my understanding. And I'm not a person who enjoys taking medicine, but this has been pretty rough, so I really wanted to have medicine. That's been 2021 so far. I just wanted to give a quick recap because it's been pretty bad. I'm hoping it doesn't get any worse. God, I hope it's not. But now let's talk about content. So, my brain's not really working great, but I think I have 2 videos already made and uploaded. In those videos, that's when my papa was still in the hospital and stuff, so I was talking about that and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I think I have one of them where we went to High Falls State Park. I have another one where we went back to Gainesville. That was right after the kayaking video. Then a third one, I don't think there is a third one. But anyways, I have videos ready to be uploaded. And I'm not sure when, depending on how I'm feeling and stuff. I mean, all I gotta do is upload them. But, I mean, I don't really want to do that if I'm not really feeling the greatest. But videos are coming, because I've had a lot of my friends asking and stuff. Videos are gonna come, you know. Now, as far as new videos goes, I'm not gonna be filming any of those for, you know, a few days. Okay, I do apologize about it cutting off like that. The GoPro overheated. It's extremely loud. I shouldn't be out here, you know, with the phone and everything, but I wanted to film this little update video. I was pretty much done anyway. I just want to say, I hope everybody's view is going a lot better than mine, because God, this sucks. But again, hopefully it gets better. Again, content coming soon, hopefully. I guess if you enjoyed this little update video, leave a like on it. Subscribe down below, hit that bell so you don't miss any more content. And yeah, hopefully I don't die. Peace.